Good morning, and welcome
Hi.
to Dualitea. I am your host, Ash, and I am here with Cece, aka Christine Cruz. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning.
I wanted to,
Excited.
me too. I really am. I really am. It's been a long time brewing, and
Yeah.
like to be a little corny, real quick, you know.
It is
But
true
it's
though.
like I'm really grateful to have you here, and grateful to have you in my life in general.
Oh,
But
I
I'm not gonna
appreciate
make
you.
us cry on the
I
first
know, I
last
know,
second,
right? We
so
just
I'm
got
gonna.
here. We
I'll
just got
ease
here.
into it. I'll ease into it. But I just wanted to start off with a meditation real quick with solar plexus bowl. So the topic that we're getting into today is like the ups and downs of for us, living an abstract life, but also this could apply to anybody,
Yes.
in whatever space or feel of their theme of life that they feel. So with that being said, I just want to invite everyone to find a comfortable seat or just allow yourself to take a moment for yourself and just to get into a little bit of what this medicine is. It's a solar plexus chakra bowl. So our solar plexus is linked to our inner child. It's linked to our worthiness and our confidence in what we feel. It's like our pride. So it could be a double-edged sword, the pride going in that way of like being too prideful or the pride being in the way of our worth, because that's kind of theme. We were talking about it yesterday at the moon meet about pride and like what
Yeah.
that means and like how pride can be such a beautiful thing and how it could be a detrimental thing, but at the same token it's literally a necessary thing.
Yeah.
Like you can't feel
Exactly.
worthy without having pride.
Right.
You could be like,
It also pushes you too, I think, to keep going with with certain things in your life.
absolutely.
Having pride in, whether it's work or family or whatever it is. It definitely pushes you. So pride is important, but you can't let it control
Yeah, like
other
not get
aspects
to
of
your
your life.
head. You still need to
Yeah.
fit through the door frame, right? So
That's
it's like,
exactly true.
with that
Yeah.
being said, it's like just like everything else we talk about here on the podcast is all about just finding our balance in things that we go through on an everyday basis. So with that
Right.
being said, I invite everyone to just close your eyes if you can and take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Allow yourself to just be in this moment. And if it feels good for you, when I play this bowl, allow the vibrations to remove or shake up anything that stops you from believing in yourself and allow it to amplify that belief in you and to know that through the ups and downs, you can have people around you, and the most important support system is the one within you, because if you're not supporting yourself, then it could be really hard to support other people at that time. So
Yep.
acknowledging the in and the out. Oh. And if it feels good for you, putting your hands on your belly. And if you feel comfortable either saying it out loud or just saying it to yourself, I believe in you. And I just want to remind you, whoever's listening, and to my future self, to our future selves, like, I believe in you and you're an incredible human. You're worthy of so much. And it's all up to you to understand and embody that worthiness so you can unlock what's already within you. Because it's not on you, it's in you. And nothing could change that. And wiggling your fingers and moving your shoulders And just getting yourself back into the present space you're in, touching the surroundings, and just grounding yourself. Thank you so much for taking that moment with us this morning to just acknowledge yourself. I think it's really important, especially right now. We just had this intense eclipse, that's been shaking up a lot of things and a lot of, spaces and places. So some podcasts, I'm like, yeah, let's just start off with a meditation.
That was
like,
amazing. I love anything with like sound is so healing. If you think about it, even just with music in general, it's been around since we are able to like make it, so
with stones in our hands, and our voices.
It's crazy what it can do to our souls, when we, find the right frequency, I guess, what you like. But this is beautiful. I love this. I wish I could start this every single day. How are you? Did you like come to my house and like, yes, I believe in myself.
It's a great way to start your day.
It's amazing. Yes, I had to do this with my daughter actually. Yeah. She would love this.
My niece loves the bowls. Like every time they're around, she's powerful. Always trying to play them.
Yeah, they're set. They like their presence when you hear it. Like it's just so intense and so powerful. So it's just beautiful. Thank you for that. That was really cool.
You're so welcome.
Let's do this in person.
Yeah. It's like it's cool because it's like the different feelings. Like even sometimes when I'm listening to either the podcast or the vibrations are so strong even through the the internet, the cyber, that our phones vibrate. When you're hearing it, if you have it on speaker, and you're listening to it like that, like you'll feel your phone vibrate.
That's
like
crazy though,
right? It's wild. Yeah. It's a perfect example about how vibrations like integrate and how they're just like they go through the airwaves. You know what I mean? And like they can meet you wherever you're at. And like I'm very like an in-person person and I'm a huge advocate of doing everything in person, but I've been like softening up on like the whole like cyber web.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's where we're all headed, so it's just weird. It's a weird place to be.
For sure. And it's like, 2020 definitely like gave us no options.
Yeah.
We had to utilize what we had.
Yeah, everybody's staying home, so.
Yeah, so it's like, it's a beautiful, everything has its pros and its cons, it's ups and its downs. And, in the online world, I feel like if we constantly, like before we get into anything, just like affirm our intention of what we're doing, you're just extending those vibrations of yourself. Because every time we're, speaking, it's like, how sometimes you can hear someone's voice and you can really resonate with their voice. It's like their octave and their vibration.
Or how they're talking, how they're saying it. Yeah, it's so true.
And then you also have the other foot where it's like someone may talk and you have an aversion to it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because it's not the vibration you're receptive to at the moment. Right. Doesn't mean anything's wrong with the person or the place or the thing. It just might not be what you're receptive to.
Yeah, I wonder though. I wonder if like octave, like if you have just a naturally low voice, if you automatically soothe people. Like,
I would imagine, especially, but at the same token, I would imagine also their intention too,
right?
Because someone could be like super low bass, but like say some crazy stuff.
Yeah, you're right.
Like I want to like this, but I don't.
I feel real wrong right now.
I don't like it here. Yeah, no, it's funny like that, And, I'm also just realizing as well. Solar plexus is ruled by the sun, and no wonder why solar plexus wanted to pull up on you today. There you go. Got the solar plexus bowl for the Leo queen. So I had to pull up. Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm not your typical Leo though. I'm like this I'm like a hermit Leo, It's really weird.
It's so interesting because we were talking about Leos last night at the moon meet because one of the women who came, she's a Leo. And she said something very similar.
Yeah, but maybe it's just me saying that, and it's just a Leo thing to say. Like I don't
know.
Low
key, yeah. I'm gonna say as a person who has a Leo rising, I can definitely say that not ever do we want to be the same as anyone else. Not at any point, anytime, in any space. But also simultaneously, I think something that gets broadcasted about Leos is like very boastful and like super prideful and all these different things, which absolutely can be accurate. Just like most things are catered to the male gaze, right? So in a lot of things, and not even most things aren't even catered to like the male gaze in the productive way.
No.
It's like catered to the toxic masculine gaze, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, mainstream astrology is majority in every sign kind of talking about
Right.
more of the underdeveloped, like the stereotypes. Like,
Yep.
you know how stereotypes go.
Yeah, and they're always talked about because that's what everybody always wants to say. Like, you know,
Yeah.
they're always like, well, you're a Leo, so you freaking love attention. And I'm like, I don't like attention. Like,
Well, there's
not-
also the other
I know.
aspects of your chart too,
Yeah.
which makes sense why you wouldn't want
it's
it.
like,
Yeah.
yo,
Mhm.
no, chill.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not
like
me.
people
Wrong
who have
person.
a lot of like fire in general
Right.
tend to want attention, but I feel like the main focus gets put on Leo because what is the sun, the center of the solar
Right,
system.
right.
So it's like, you know, I'm gonna be very Leo rising about it when I say what I'm about to say, but like it's not my fault that, you know, the sun is in the center of the
is a
solar
Leo
system.
thing.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not asking for it. I'm certainly a person that like I
love
don't
that.
walk into the room and want everyone to look at me.
Right,
But
you
if
know.
I want someone to look at me, I'm going to make it happen. You know what I mean? I'm not even going to
I
lie.
mean, if I had to, yeah, I guess I would.
you know you can work the charm.
Yeah.
But at the same token, it comes from a genuine space when you know who you are.
Right, yes.
And that goes with every sign in every place.
Yeah. Also, it comes with the price too, because it's like you always have to put all of that energy constantly being that center of attention. And
Yeah.
I don't think anybody. I mean, some people might like that, you know, but I don't. I'm not that kind of person that.
Because then you have to be
that.
on all the time.
Yeah,
you have
just
no
there's
space
no-
to be a human. You have
right.
to be perfect all the time.
I'm
right?
not that. I'm not the one.
Yeah, I get that. I completely
I
understand.
need to be
that.
like sweatpants, like
Mhm.
like never
Like, I
come
need to
out
be
of my
chilling. Like, I'm definitely not trying to be done up all the time.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm good.
It's good to have reasons for it, you know, keeps you like in your I feel like, you know, even on the topic of like the ups and downs, like having reasons to maybe not like dress up like formal, but like dress up in general,
Yeah.
like get ready, you know, could really help when you're on like the downside,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
When you're like not wanting to get ready.
I feel like when I go food shopping, like I will put on okay out, not sweatpants, I would say,
yeah.
which is big for me because I don't really go out. So I would say I'm working. I would say most of the time. So I'm usually in my art pants or stretchy pants, you know, like you know, like the TikTok pants or like. But then when I have to go like food shopping, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna wear jeans.
Jeans
I'm
are
gonna
like
wear
the
jeans, yeah, and
enter
like
the
make
cycle now.
myself a little nicer. You know, for no reason, just because I'm going to a supermarket. So I feel like though it's just about how you want to feel.
Yeah.
And how, you know, clothing is just you know, it's just the way things make you feel. So if I want to go to the grocery store and feel confident as fuck and like look good at a Stop and Shop,
Yeah, listen, sometimes when you just leave the house,
I'm
you
gonna
just
go.
want to.
And yeah, I'm gonna do that. So.
And doing it for yourself
Right.
too is so beautiful because it's like, you know, even if you want the attention, right?
Right.
It's like I strongly like recommend to like do it for you first,
Yeah,
you know, because
absolutely.
it feels so much better. Like, listen, everybody can want attention. Sometimes we either neglect ourselves or feel neglected in certain
Yeah.
situations and want to just be recognized that we're human and we live and like we have beautiful things about us, right?
Absolutely.
And like that's okay.
Yeah,
Like,
I think for me, the things that I do is be like, since I'm a photographer, I always do selfies and I'll do my own. Like, I know if you follow me, you'll see them every once in a while. I haven't really done them that much, but I used to do them a lot more. But like, because that to me is empowering myself. This
Yes.
is a one-on-one time with myself because I know how to do all these things. So I just put a trigger on and I set up the light I want. I put music on. I'm like, whatever it is, just to get me in the mood of just being alone with myself. That's
Yeah.
kind of weird. And just appreciating the way I look at this moment in time. So, like, that's why I always try to do it every year of just showing, like, I want to celebrate my body every single year because in the past, I never wanted to do that. I never wanted to celebrate my body at all. So I think, being in my 30s now, I think you definitely start to be more comfortable and celebrating who you are no matter what you look like and just the body that you're in. And it took me a really long time to really accept that part of me. Especially when you go through trauma and you experience a lot of like downs, I would say. You lose a lot of value, or you think you lose value, I would say.
Yeah.
And then that makes you think that you're, all these things that you're not. And, sometimes you just start to, I guess, get worse, you know, and really start to hate yourself. So I'm glad I'm finally kind of out of that. You know, I mean, sometimes I have bad days, but for the most part, especially after having a kid, women go through so much trauma, like just with your body in general. Like you just really have to learn to, it's really like learning to love yourself, but also accepting the things that you can't change about yourself, you know, and being okay, you know, with that. And I think that is the hardest thing that people have to do, especially in an age where we're all about self-care and fixing all those terrible things, which is okay to do. Like, you know, like I have like crooked teeth on the bottom. Like I would love to fix that one day, you know, when I can. But like, am I, you know, gonna beat myself up every single day because because this is me. You know what I mean?
It's also crazy to look back in hindsight to see the things that used to bother you so much and then grow love for them.
Yes.
That's something I could resonate. Like I have a snuggle tooth on my bottom teeth, right? And then my top teeth like kind of bend that way.
Right. Nobody's gonna
like,
see that though.
Yeah, like now y'all can look at my teeth.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It's weird.
It's crazy how like when I was a child, I literally used to talk like this and I used to laugh like this.
Girl, yeah.
And now I love my teeth. I'm like, you know, even my little snuggle tooth, I'm like, I love you bucket, but I love you. Like you're crazy.
Yeah.
You know, I just love you extra. Like that's where we're at with it, you know.
But
and
that's definitely true. You gotta just learn to love what you have because this is the only body you have.
Yep, absolutely.
And you're not getting another one, so you know you gotta take
even
care
if you
of
buy
it.
it.
Yeah,
It
even if
doesn't
you buy
matter,
it,
it's like it's the inside. You
also,
know what
you're
I mean?
eventually it's gonna expire.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
for
It's
sure.
not gonna last
sure.
forever. So, you know, I think it's important, as I got, you know, getting older, you know, being 36, I definitely feel like it's like older, you know, like mid-30s, you're just like, all right, like, you know, you're more comfortable with this is who I am right now.
Yeah.
Am I going to stay this way? Can I stay this way? You know, yes or no. I can, you know, can change at any time. But right now in this body, I feel good. And I feel comfortable.
Like my brain literally like Beyonce comfortable in my skin.
Yeah,
just, like, playing as soon as she's done.
got cozy.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that album. It's great. But yes, absolutely. I feel finally, which is really, and after like tons of therapy and like working.
It's so difficult to literally exist in this world, whether, you know, you're male or female or identify as anything in between. Is like body dysmorphia is like such it's close to impossible to not have it. Like really on a realistic tip, like I'm not by any means diagnosing anyone. I'm just saying like the terminology, if you don't know it, look it up. It's something that we all go through, just like looking at our body image and thinking and we're wishing that it was something different or associating it with wanting it to be something better, right? Because that's what the public eye is appealing to, right? And you know, it's something that I feel like has been coming up so much recently with a lot of women that I've been speaking to, you know, that have been talking about like BBLs and things like that. And it's like, there are people that undergo these surgeries and have like a great success rate. And there's other people that like literally lose their life because they're trying to modify their body. And it's like, most importantly, you know, to each their own and whatever you feel is the best for you. But regardless of whatever you choose, I strongly do believe that, you know, really getting comfortable with who you are as a person, you know, helps on the inside and then that reflects on the outside. And it's like, you might not ever feel fully, you know, 100% everything about me is perfect, you know, and maybe you shouldn't because maybe that's a little arrogant. I don't know, you know, but maybe that's a needed balance to like have a little bit. But when it's out balancing the good you feel about how you look, I strongly just invite anyone to like start going inward because once we start moving things outward, sometimes people just still don't feel good about it, you know? And, like, I feel like that's also navigating the ups and the downs. Like, I don't want to bash anyone for any decisions that they either made or will make.
Yeah.
It's more so just, like, encouraging you no matter what you're doing and where you're at and how you feel you should go about that. Just remember to check in with your internal self and, like, your inner child and, like, those parts of yourself and, like, where these belief systems and challenge them because at the end of the day, like, you have the power to do that, you know?
Yeah, I always feel like it's not that I don't have these thoughts, like, oh, I wish I had this or I wish maybe I should just save up to get that. And, like, so these thoughts are still there. It's not like, I just want to make it clear, like, I also feel like, you know, and that's society really making me feel like I have to change my body. And and that's took a lot for me to understand. Because I'm like, why do I still feel like I want to change myself? Even after all the work I've done, being comfortable with being with myself. So it's definitely a lot. Those thoughts still wander, but they're definitely not like, I'm not like jumping to them like I used to, say, when I wasn't comfortable.
Well, it's a beautiful thing. And
yeah.
I love that for you.
And I wish that for like literally every single person in this world.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way.
If you can just really accept and truly love yourself for who you are, and just every imperfection, you are going to be like so ahead of hundreds, millions of people in this world.
For real. And it's like, you deserve it. You know, you deserve it. You deserve it. I deserve it. Like, having those moments where you can look.
Like that,
I look at people, and the things that they tend to not like about themselves, it tends to be like my favorite thing about them.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm such a detail-oriented person. Like, I'll look at somebody and be like, or talk to somebody on the phone, and they're like, oh yeah, and then I was doing this, and like, I was like, oh, you're making this face right now, and like, people feel very seen with me because I'm very detail-oriented, and they're like, what? You know, like,
I get that as a photographer. I mean, sometimes when you take people's pictures, I don't know if Kenny could understand this, but sometimes they don't like you could take a great picture. I mean, you're just like, wow, this is beautiful, but they're not gonna like every single thing you put out there, which is fine, and you understand that.
Of course, their angles.
But sometimes like the angles are, they're really good, and the only thing they don't like is just, their nose shape, that like, or like stuff that I can't really change. Yeah. But even with the angle, like, it's just so, I just feel like that's when people are just becoming so obsessed
critical
of their image that they put online. It's not even, it's just like they're going to use these photos to put online or put on somewhere where somebody's going to have to, like whatever, it's LinkedIn, whatever it is, you know what I mean? So just the pressure, and just, you could just see, I just see people like, it like crush, it completely destroys people, when I do see, and they just hate themselves so much that they can't even look at a picture of themselves. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, it sucks. It happens a lot though, not more than I think people really think. I don't know if it happens, not that my photos, like, they're not, I'm just any photo, like anybody takes a picture of them.
No, I would imagine even more so as a photographer. That makes so much sense, because it's like a vulnerable situation. You're getting like hundreds of thousands of pictures.
I'm getting a lot of pictures, and so they're not going to see like all of the ones that I put out, but I do feel like people, if they just embrace a lot of themselves, all these photos that they're going to look at when they're like 80 years old, they're going to be like, wow, look how amazing they don't even understand like what they, but I get it, because I also, again, was there. So like, that's why I have the most patience, and I understand when somebody doesn't like something or doesn't like their, the way they look in a picture. I always work with them. Yeah. Because I'm always like, I get it. Like, I'm not gonna, I don't care about social media. I don't care about posting this shit.
It's about you.
For you. You know what I mean? I'm doing this for you. Yeah. So I'm like, I want something you're going to want and love. You know what I mean? So we'll work at it until we get it, until you feel like I got the right angle or whatever it is. But I feel like it sometimes doesn't even matter. Yeah. But that's okay. And I really hope that, like, people start to, see that, like, we're putting too much pressure on ourselves to be a certain way.
And it's an impossible expectation.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah. Even people that seemingly fit these aesthetics are still concerned about their own aesthetic. Right. You know what I mean? So it's like, it never ends. So it's just the best place that you can, like you were saying before, just like, with time and with grace and with integration, can help you get to a place that you can feel comfortable. But that doesn't happen, unfortunately, and fortunately, it doesn't happen on its own. Like, you have to participate in it. You have to, like, put in effort to, even if it's as simple as, like, looking in the mirror and being like, I love you. Like, even if you don't feel beautiful, maybe, like, I can't really gaslight myself with affirmations. Like, some people, it works for them. And I don't mean to say gaslight. That sounds really, like, terrible. But I don't like to, like, I can't really fake it before I make it. I'm more so, like, I have to meet myself where I'm at. You know what I mean? So if I don't feel beautiful, I'll be like, you're cool. I like you. Yeah. Like, you got great personality.
Like a hot mess, but you know what? You're doing your best.
Exactly. Like, just affirming your reality. And then I also hype myself up with,
I like that, affirming your reality. Yeah. I love that.
It's just like, meeting yourself, like I look, if I don't feel beautiful and I look in the mirror and I'm like, you're beautiful, unless I'm referring to my personality, my essence as a soul, it doesn't click for me. But if I reaffirm myself, how beautiful I am on the inside and how incredible of a person I am, I will then start to feel beautiful on the outside. So like that's something that I think is really strong to put in the place of, like, you know, affirmations. I feel like a lot of people like are like, I don't want to do affirmations, I feel weird, I don't want to talk to myself in the mirror, you know, and I don't believe what I'm saying. It's weird and it's awkward, but it's a great way to get to know yourself. You know what I mean? And then once you start doing it, then you don't even care who you're around. If you're like, you know, there's plenty of times throughout my days, like if I'm feeling like, you know, even on the podcast, if I like get flustered or I'm like, okay, I'll like either take a breath and be like, I believe in you. You can do this. It's fine. Don't worry.
I do that all the time because I never know what I'm doing.
I'm just jumping into things. Yeah, no, I completely resonate with that. So it's like you gotta, like, you don't have the prep talk. You have the actual talk while it's happening, right? You know, so but you have a pep talk while you're, you know.
I love that I'm not the only one. That
no, for real. If I'm ever pausing, I'm talking to myself to convince myself I can continue doing what I'm doing.
Oh my God, that is huge. Especially
those times in spaces, like, it's so easy to then doubt, right? It's like when you pause or when you trip up, you know, like sometimes I hiccup or like I accidentally burp or like take a gulp of tea and I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing right now? Everyone's gonna hear this in their headphones, on their phones, like wherever they're on the speakers of their car.
I'm like, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, for real, like, you know, and it's like, so I'll sit there and be like, oh, like I remember when it first happened. Yeah, no, it's like, but at the same token, I'm like, but that's cool. A human reaction, you know, like that's the whole point of doing this live is like, I'm not trying to filter myself for you guys. Like and I don't want any of my guests to have to filter themselves. I want the whole thing to create the platform for us to not have to filter ourselves and present ourselves as we are in real time and project that onto the internet because it's needed. You know, everything's so scripted and it's a show. Like, and all of these different things are so prepared for. That's
it's all spoon fed to us what they want. Like I'm like, not to use the Kardashians as because I don't even want to, but something like that. I'm just using it as an example. When you see all the ups and downs that they have on the show, you know, I think I watched like one episode just to see what it was like, and it's so hard to relate because they're so
it's like, what are these ups and downs? I can't even.
It's just, no, I mean, I'm not discrediting their downs because I don't know what it would be like.
What is real and what's not real.
Yeah, and I can't even. I struggle with just being around, you know, like a group of people in an event. Like I can't imagine what they have to go through every day. I don't want to take away from that, but I do know, like, they seem a little detached from real life for us, I would say. So for me, it's really hard to watch stuff like that because it's like, yes, they're having up and downs, and I guess I could relate, but like I can't really relate because also like she's always trying to change her image. And you know, and that's something, you know, I don't want to like shit all over them because I do appreciate everybody in this world.
Yeah, but it's a real,
and I'm sure she's doing good, you know, in some aspects, in some ways. I'm sure people might, you know, benefit from her doing whatever she does, you know, whatever.
I see your balance. But I see your balance. I feel you. I feel you. You know,
I don't want to shit all over either because I don't like to do that just far as just with women in general.
Yes.
But I feel like there is a healthier way to go about things, and I hope that maybe they can find that because for me, I feel like we're watching all of that stuff that's being spoon-fed to us, like, yeah, we can relate to you, but we really can't, like, you know what I mean? It's like it's there. Yeah, like, you're wearing, like, dripped in Gucci, and, like, you know, like, I don't know how I can
like, having a meltdown that your Gucci belt doesn't match.
I don't know.
Like, your Gucci outfit.
It's hard. But then when you see stuff like Kanye and her having, you know, real, you know, issues as far as, like, when I had real issues with my, you know, with my daughter's father, and, like, so you're seeing, like, a lot of, you know, you're seeing real shit, but mixed in with, like, all this other bullshit. So it's just really hard to, you know what's real. And so that's why I don't like those kind of shows. I feel like it's just giving us this false sense of reality.
Yeah, no,
it's not reality TV. It's whatever reality that they want to.
Yeah, that's projected on.
So it's hard to, you know.
Which is even more provoking of inadequate emotions, because it's like, well, I can't relate to that at all. Like,
Right.
I have no idea what it's like to have a house in Calabasas and
Right, yeah,
another
that's
house
cool.
next to it, and like, you know, like have
Right.
these different things.
And exactly. That's why. But I don't. At the same time, you know, like health is the most important thing. I think in human life is like the most important thing here. And I think when you're that rich or you have that much money, that you do get attached from that.
Of course, I can't imagine.
So,
like, yeah,
you know, so I feel like they're spoon feeding us. Like, no, we're a real family. Like, we're this, we're that. But like it's not. It's not. No, it's all sugar coated to look like that, so that we can be like, wow, like yeah, they're just like us. They're not just like us, you know, and it's
and
hard.
that's like, that goes not only on TV shows, like that's so, like there's so much stuff on social media that's constantly pumped out about celebrities, and like we're navigating our ups and downs, and like you said, not to like diminish any celebrities' ups and downs, it just looks different, and because their realities are different than, you know, the average person. So it's like when you know, they're even in songs that are like, you know, there's one, it's an older song, it's one of my favorites, like Hit 'Em Up Style. And it's like, she goes, she takes his credit card, she buys all these designer brand things. It's like, whose credit card can do that? Like on an average day basis, like who, like probably got like a 1,500 limit. That's one bag you're talking about in that song. Whose credit card do you have it? You know what I mean? So it's like, and then that's like, you know, it's, I feel like the thing that I don't appreciate about the projected realities in these reality shows or on these different social media like platforms is like the toxicity of it, you know, because like that's really 90% of what's being shown, and like yes, that 10% can be real and pure, but that's my qualm with it, you know. That's my piece that I don't really appreciate, because it's like, not only are you showing us like a lens, your rose-colored lens into this other reality, but we're glorifying such toxic behavior, and it's usually the ups and downs. So now, like for more people who can be like influenced or molded, is like it's just encouraging toxic behavior, you know. So it's an interesting thing that happens, you know, with once again, like double-edged sword. Like social media can be used as like incredible tool, resources, connections with people, and then there's also the fluff, and like it seems like there's more of that than not. So that's why I think like having things like this podcast, your projects, people that are in the community that we know tangibly, and even people that we don't know tangibly, like how they have the aspect of, you know, putting their authentic and true self, and it's very vulnerable, right? So like taking the time to do that. And you know, I want to go into a topic that I was thinking of, you know, just refreshing myself on your work and things that you do. And, you know, reason why our flyers, Alice in Wonderland themed, and then also like the little emotional faces, is because you had
Alice in Wonderland sleeve right here.
That's so dope. I didn't even get to see it. Oh my God, I love those flowers. Every time I see them, I want to sing their song. Every time I'm like, I really, really love Alice in Wonderland. Like a big fan of it. And, you know, before I had met you, I heard on Staten Island that somebody was doing a Project Alice. And I was like, why? I need to go. And like circumstances happened that I wasn't able to, but I was just so excited that someone was doing this. And I'm like, who is this person? Like, I want to know her, you know? And
I
then
love
like
how much like Project Alice stood. Even to this day, I mean, I did that project in 2018. Oh, wow. People are still talking about it. So it's 2022. And you're not the only person that has told me this. And I can't thank you guys for you didn't even go to it and you even hear it. So you have no idea, like that's great to hear that you even like heard about it.
Not only I hear about it, I'm like, I wanted to know who you were. I was like, who is the person who made this? Because I was looking at like the pictures, and I don't know if you had a website or if I went on your Instagram or whatever it was at the time. So whatever it was that was up, I was like, I need to go here. Like, this is so dope. Like, and I didn't even know the significance until the other day when I was doing a refresher research on you.
Oh, really?
And I was like, yeah, this is why I love you even more. Like, I just can't even begin to, it's not so common that you meet, it's not that people aren't intentional, because I don't want to take that away from the masses. not everyone is vocally intentional, right? So not everybody states their intentions. They may have it, but they don't state them. It's a very vulnerable act, and it's a very courageous act that you do constantly. So I just want to acknowledge you for that,
Oh my God.
and give you a platform, and give you the flowers to speak on the platform of that project, and if you want to explain a little bit of what that was,
project?
and the inspiration.
Which one are we talking
Project
about?
Alice.
Okay.
For now, then we can go into Staten.
I have the one on my lawn. I did. I had that one.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just. So Project Alice was. It was a long time coming too. It was like so I started the project when I was 32, and I started writing the project at age 30. I went on a cross country trip. And I just started meeting so many amazing people. But the purpose of my cross-country trip, I didn't have a lot of money. So it was like, it was really, my purpose was to meet people, strangers, like go out there, put myself outside of my comfort zone. And I ended up meeting the right, most amazing people, random people. I'm friends with them randomly on Facebook, I think, too. So I made a whole video of everybody that I met that, on my trip. And because of all those interactions, it made me start writing this project called Project Alice. And it's really about Alice in Wonderland, but I'm using the themes that I've heard throughout my entire trip, and I kind of put it into the project. Because to me, when I'm meeting all these people, I'm like, wow, like we all have felt the way that all of these people felt at one point. Because I would ask them, like, what is the one piece of advice you would give me? And they would give me this one piece. And then some people would just automatically no. And you're just like, they've been waiting their whole lives to just ask this question your entire life. And it's just some random girl from Staten Island, coming to like Las Vegas. You know what I mean? I'm asking a maid, or a janitor. Because I wouldn't find like, I was finding just regular fucking people that lived at these areas, that lived at all these places that I went. Just real fucking people. Yeah. And that's what I wanted, out of that trip. So I was so thankful for that trip. It changed my life in so many different ways. And I was able to write Project Alice, which was about Alice in Wonderland. Sorry, I keep going back. But, and I used Alice as a way to portray everybody. So when you walk into the immersive gallery, it turned into an immersive gallery. It started off as just like a photography film project, and then it evolved to an immersive art gallery. I've never done anything like this beforehand. Like, this is something I always do. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Because a lot of the stuff I do, I don't normally have never done. So, or know anybody that has done it. So I usually researching a lot before. That's why it takes so long for me to put out projects, because it's a lot of research, a lot of time. But anyway, so this project was in a full immersive art gallery. It was in Port Richmond, and I believe it's the Dutch church. I forgot, it was a Reform. I forgot the name of the church, but it's amazing. It's been there from like Dutch settlers back in like the Revolutionary War. And as soon as I found this space, I was just like in love, because I am a big history person. I love all Staten Island history. I think it's fascinating. There's so much here that nobody knows, and they really should.
Absolutely. But
that's a whole other story, another podcast. So I just wanted to, as soon as I saw the place, I was like, this has to be it, because it's not only fits the theme to what I like, because it's so eerie, and it does look, not that it's eerie, but it's so old that it just has such a presence in itself. So that in itself, just being in that kind of space is already fun, and immersive in a way. Yeah. So adding whatever I added to it just made it even crazier, and really showed, I think what you can do in that space like that. Mm-hmm. So I had a different room set up, and then when you first walk in, I give you a cookie, just like Alice in Wonderland, when she goes down and she shrinks, and, she ends up going through the hole and through the door. So you go down this passage, and it's like a bunch of there's a TV and there's poetry playing with a video. Shout out to Rachel. She's amazing. I worked with over 40 different artists on that project, probably more if I really think about it. But everybody contributed just what they're passionate about. So that's what I loved. You know what I mean? Thing. I had actors in around each, rooms. So there was one room where there was the Mad Hatter had the tea, but in this instance, it was So each room had a theme, and it was supposed to be more of reality. So in one of my trips, to the West Coast, I came across this man. He was a janitor at this old Las Vegas hotel. Like, we stayed at the oldest Las Vegas. It was a beautiful hotel, but it was like old. I think Elvis stayed there in like the 1940s, right? So he has so many stories to tell. But he said the biggest thing, especially for one of his daughters, was drugs, and how it literally took her away from him. And like, just the hearing that and just the whole story, it was a very sad story, and it just stuck with me. I know that happens so much, not just on Staten Island, but everywhere.
Yeah.
So drugs and overdosing and all that stuff, it's definitely a big, huge problem that we've faced for a really long time now. So it's like, I definitely wanted to show that in some way in Project Alice. So I set up a tea party, and at this tea party, they were giving you fake drugs. So they were like Smarties and like, crushed up, and it looks like, all this kind of weird stuff. But then I had all the actors trying to push it on you, and like, and they invite you to come to this thing to not see the rest of the gallery. And it was like, and all of them are in character. So it was really cool,
That's so cool.
experience. And then there was another room right close to that was, we call it the depression room. And it was basically a tub that was just like bloodied, but with red candle wax.
Yeah.
And it was made to look like a funeral. So except the casket was a bloody tub. And inside the bloody tub were all these pictures that we took while, for the film. And there was a little short film playing of just like a scenario. To me, Depression Room was probably the most impactful, especially I saw people crying there. Because it's so somber, and it looks like the way I said, I had flowers, like it looked like a funeral. So it definitely, I think that one was the most impactful, because I wanted to set it up in a bathroom, because that's like the quietest time you have, the only time you're really by yourself without anything. You're vulnerable, you're naked. Like, to me, as a young woman, I struggled, with, suicide, depression. So that was my spot where I felt like, I hated, and, that's where I cried, that's where you like just let it all out.
That's made me cry right now. Yeah.
Right. So that's what I wanted you to feel. Because to me, it's like, seeing a giant tub in the middle of it's just with like blood everywhere. I still have it. Dude, it's crazy. It's like, I'll never want to get rid of this thing. It's so crazy looking, and it took me hours like to do.
It's just the
It's crazy,
excitement of having the prop still. It's just like, I still have it.
You
too,
have to
like,
see. Yeah,
I'm really
my house
excited,
is crazy.
yeah.
But anyway, and then the next room after that was basically. I separated ribbons on the ceiling, and you kind of walk into them in each way. So one was black ribbons and one was blue ribbons. And I know on Staten Island we had this huge controversy a few years back between like, blue lives and black lives, and it was like the ribbons. It was like everybody was like, I'm gonna put blue ribbons, and I'm, like everybody was just like obsessed with like, showing what, whatever, more of the blue, the blue ribbon. So I wanted to show how none of that mattered. So, no matter where you chose, you ended up in the same room.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest thing. It was like, so if you went to the black ribbon room, you're still going to end up in the same room that you were in the beginning. You know what I mean? Or if you went to the blue lives, it would have been in the same. So we're all meeting at the same point, no matter which we choose. And that's what I really wanted to show, that we're all, human. We're all dealing with this together. No matter what you believe or what you think, especially now that we have all this, did you vote yesterday, or do you vote? I don't even know how to ask that, but anyway, we just it's like a whole other thing. But, it's such a huge thing right now, and it's always going to be, and it's never going to go away. So it's like, to me, to show something like that, to show people, and I got a really, I got different feedback from that too. I had names on the ribbons of people who died. To show like everybody's dying, bro. Yeah. Like everyone's dying. Yeah. Obviously there's more people dying on one side than the other. Yeah. And that's something that we need to change. Yeah. But in reality, like in the bigger picture here, we need to figure this out. We're all together. We're all supposed to be, human. We're only on one planet. There's nobody for miles, you know? So I don't know what we're going to do, you know? Like, it's just crazy to think about. But, so that project was amazing. I really do appreciate that you even bring that up still, you know? And it was something that I, you know, was dedicated like 4 years of my life to, you know, figuring out. And
I'm really happy I asked, to be honest, because just when I thought that I was already like blown away and impressed, you just said all of that, you know? So it's just like, even to just hear it from your mouth vocally, it's one thing to read it, it's one thing, you know, to even hear like your past version say it in that video you had, right?
So
it's like,
I was
but then
so
to hear
to talk back then. Now
you didn't even seem like it. You seem very poised. You know what I mean? This is once again the same thing, the criticizing of ourselves. Like, you seemed so poised when you were talking about it.
I'm like,
you know,
not in my head.
There is something that you're passionate about, so then that passion takes the wheel. Even if you are nervous when you start, by the time, and that's why I tell anybody who comes on this podcast, it's like, when you are here, like, oh, I'm nervous. Like, this is a podcast for the people who don't necessarily want to do a podcast, right? Because the average person isn't like, let me go on a podcast, you know? No. Like, and I wasn't the person who was like, let me have one. So I'm like, you, come here. Like, let's talk about things. Real people. Let's have a conversation. Like, kind of the same thing that you were going about in going into other states and, like, wanting to talk to the everyday worker.
Yes.
Like that's what I like to do here as well. And it's like, with that, most people are like, oh, I'm nervous. Like, I'm going to be nervous. But I'm like, literally, you are going to be nervous. I'm not going to tell you you're not going to be nervous.
Yes, you definitely
But after the first 5 minutes, you're going to forget that you're there because we're just having a conversation. Right. There might be moments where we look here and we're like, oh, yeah, I'm on a podcast. Oh, I just hit the microphone. Hey, we're on a podcast, you know. But then when you're just talking and expressing and speaking on things and topics that you have passion about, it takes the wheel. And then if you want, like, you can take the wheel and you can drive together, you know.
And we're just hanging out.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just, it becomes more of an experience that you can participate in it's a middle ground, you know what I mean? Like, and that's why I really love the way that Kenny has it set up in this space, and that, you know, it's very intimate. Shout out to Kenny for real.
Love Kenny.
And it's like to be intimate, but also be able to see yourself and remind yourself where you're at.
Right.
But because, like, sometimes certain podcasts go on for, like, we've had, like, super long podcasts where we forgot we're on podcast. We're just chilling. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, snap. Like,
that's right.
Like, Kenny gotta go. Like, you know, we got things to do, you know. So it's a beautiful thing. But to circle back to your project, you know, the amount of attention, detail, and care and nurture that you put into this project, nonetheless, all the projects that you do, you know, it's just so it's not only like beautiful to know that you exist, it's absolutely inspiring. And I hope that anybody that hears this, that has any, you know, it's one thing to have an idea, but to be able to get it out of your head and to bring it into reality takes a special ingredient. And that ingredient is that belief, you know, and that comes from the support.
Sometimes it's belief, and then outside. I would say sometimes, because a lot of the stuff I do, like we were just talking about before we started this, is like, I don't really, I know, to me, the message is the most important thing. Yep. And I know I have to put it out there. Mm-hmm. So that's what drives me, is the messages of, like, you not feeling alone. Because to me, that needs to be out there more than anything. So that drives me
and
more
you're
than
a medium
anything.
for that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
So,
like, that's what artists are.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what shape and form. I feel like a lot of people don't consider themselves artists if they don't pick up a paintbrush or a crayon or, you know, whatever it is. They don't think about, right? Like, you know, it's like, but you could be the same like 4-year-old that's picking up a crayon at the restaurant. You're still an artist. You're still exuding art. You know, the person who practices speech therapy or therapy in general and is speaking on things, like, you are still an artist, you know, like, communication is an art. There's visual arts, there's different brackets of art, but creating something, taking something that's in your head and putting it out into the world, whether physical or vibrational, like, you are curating art, you know, and art is so abstract. There's no pinned down definition of what it's different to everyone. It's like the word love. Like, love and art are.
But that's why I like to also work with so many artists. I think a lot of my projects are never solo projects. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've ever done a solo project. Actually, I don't think I've ever done. I can't think of any right now. But
you do solo projects when you do your photo shoots.
Yeah, I guess that's it. Yeah, that's the only time, because I really do enjoy working with people. Even when I do photography, though, I'm collaborating. Yeah. I always see it as always a collaboration. It's never like,
you do your projects when you do like the ones you just did with the balloon in the
did.
sky. That was so dope. That was really dope. And that was your project.
Yes,
you did,
exactly.
So give yourself the credit, girl. I'm here to remind you. I'm here to remind you.
But yeah, no, I definitely feel like, photography has a lot. I mean, the ups and downs of just starting a business too. Being creative is one thing, but even just business related stuff is just like hard. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
My plan is to open up. Yeah, I want to try to open up a studio. Like, Kenny, you have an amazing space here. This is a dream. You inspire me, if anything, to keep, at what I want to do and to keep doing, keep working towards my goals and trying to hopefully one day have something that I can call my own, and really call the shots and to add people, and make it a safe place, That's my dream. But who knows, because dreams change all the time and I'm all over the place. But that's what I'm working towards. Yeah. So it's just, I don't know, owning a business is just like a whole other ball game that really I'm still learning. So
for sure. I'm like, still like, I've like, that's something I could definitely relate to. It's like, I have had so many businesses but didn't take the leap to take the LLC because of my commitment issues, right? Because I'm like, just like, so like I'm all over the place, like being a jack of all trades when I'm really trying to be a master of some, right, is like where I'm at. And it's like, every time I'm like, oh, I want to do this, it's like I have everything set up. And then something like, even if I have the funds there, like something will just be like, not right now. And I've been like really talking with that voice because it's like, there's something about the permanence of a name that makes me, that makes me like, it's like, it makes me nervous, it makes me anxious, it makes me feel like, what if this isn't the name I want, because I'm constantly changing as a person, so I'm like, what if I don't want this? And
maybe it's something that, you could always change it, though.
And like literally, I'm like so aware of this, but I'm still constantly, like, how many DBAs can you have? You know what I mean? Like, but I want it to be like something that's solid and stable. So like, I've been going through the ups and downs, and like, even like for myself in my life, like recently, like even to just get a little personal for a moment, which I always do with y'all. It's like, y'all knowing my whole life, seemingly.
We know everything.
A lot, right? But I share that with the intention of people to know that they're not alone and for anything that they can take from it, and to also know that like I'm a human being, and like I go through my ups and downs, and yes, I have a podcast and I'm taking y'all with me on it, right? I'm taking you with me on the journey.
I love your podcast. I always tune in whenever I can. I know I tell you that.
That means the world to me. It really does. Like to hear that, like, so, like I still, like, it's funny. I feel like I get starstruck by people who tell me that. People are like, oh my God, like I watched this, or I'm like, really? Like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like
I never know what to say. That's why you comment. I'm like, I'm just quiet. Like, I don't thank you.
I completely understand when people give me my flowers, and I'm like, like I want to hug you, I want to cry, I want to say thank you, all of that at the same time. So I'm just like,
also it's a lot of work, energy work to put in, especially, I don't know what it's like to have a podcast, but I'm sure it's, it's a lot of things they have to come up with and all this other stuff. So anytime you're putting yourself out there constantly. So
there's sometimes that I have, like, depending on what I share on here, that I'll be like, oh my God, I just was so vulnerable, and I'll have like that oversharing remorse.
You were about to share something, actually. I'm sorry. Like, go ahead, go back. I was like, wait a minute, I want to know what you're saying.
I'll have the space for it. But yeah, like even so, like it's like a perfect catalyst to actually get into it. Sometimes when we not overshare, let me rephrase that, because I know what oversharing is. I do it plenty on a daily basis, and I've been working on that for years. But on the podcast, I don't ever consider myself really oversharing. In fact, like, because I put that prayer in before I speak, I know that I'm guided. I know that I'm guided, I truly do. Yeah, I really do. That's why it's so important for me to like speak that intention before we start rolling. And, with that being said, it's like, there are times when we get vulnerable and we share things and we feel like we're oversharing, but really we're just vulnerable, right? We're just like, oh, I just let people in. But we're like, at home, we're like, oh my God, why did I tell everybody that this is like the things that are going on in my head? I'm going to be judged and criticized. People are going to extrapolate this and use that. Because like you see podcasts, you see people.
Also, people do that.
They do that.
I have trolls on my social media. I have to literally ban all the time.
It's like, that's a thing. That's a reality. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I think that why a lot of people are fearful to be so like transparent on these platforms, because they fear that they're going to take that vulnerability and put it out there. It's like when you know, when you're growing up, someone, you know, I know someone in my family always said, like, don't tell everyone everything, tell people different things, you know, and so that everyone doesn't have the scoop on you. And I would not listen to that all the time because I would be like, no, I trust this person, and then it would blow up in my face, and I'm like, this is why they said that, right? And it's like that same feeling, but magnified, because now it's like, okay, like, you can easily become viral off of, like, one clip, and now you have hundreds of thousands of people, like, judging you and criticizing you. They don't know you at all, and they're just taking like one piece of a thing. And it's like, there's one podcast in particular that was like with Joe Rogan and Kanye, and I seen a clip of it, and it made me watch it because I was like, yo, did he really say that? And then I watched it, and he did it.
I know, that's just baiting.
They stitched it. Exactly. They stitched it. And I was like,
Kenny's got to do that with us.
Yeah. You got to stitch us real quick. Like,
we'll say something like really shocking. I don't know.
Right? And then it's just like, boom, clickbait. Now everyone's clicking on the pod. But it's like, it's crazy. It's crazy how people do that. You know what I'm saying? So, like, with that being said, I understand the fear. And, like, going back to what I was originally going to say, ups and downs and, like, where I've been at and, like, different things that happen, like, in October, you know, it's a heavy month for me, and it was the anniversary of my father, and like a lot of different things of my father passing, and like a lot of different things that were coming up for me. And I feel like I woke up in November from like, you know, when you take a nap, and like it's like a late nap, like you weren't supposed to actually take that nap, and then you wake up at like 2:00 in the morning. You're like, what day is it? What's my life? What do I want to do with myself in general? You know what I mean? Like, that was the sensation I felt when November hit. Like, I even on Halloween, like I literally stayed in bed all Halloween. I didn't care. Like, I just didn't care this year. Like, I normally am more in the spirit of like, all right, I'll do something. But it was also on a Monday, and I didn't have work, so I was like, I'm just gonna rest. You know, especially after the weekend. You know, the anniversary being on the 29th. I'm like, I just want to rest today.
Yeah, I mean, I've never known that about you. Have you ever said that to people, or is that something you just don't tell people?
I mean,
feel like. Not that you, I'm just saying,
it's something that it's on a few podcasts I've like shared about it. I usually obviously don't go in like extreme detail of it, but like there are a few episodes where I talk about it. I had a friend of mine who also lost her father, and we have an episode. It's the Heart podcast, like, and then we made another one.
That's cool.
It's called But Wait, There's More. And then we actually get into it. So we're talking about grief and stuff.
Because, there's a lot of people that I'm sure that can benefit from hearing
those things. Yeah, for sure. It's like, that's something that I think I also might have spoke about it on the podcast that I was like, I think it was the 50th podcast or something, or one of them that was like significant. And I was like, I should probably introduce you guys to me, right? Like, you know, I've had a podcast for like however many, you guys should probably know who I am, right? You know, because I'm big on not giving descriptions. I'm big on disclosing what you feel comfortable. Like, you might be a multimillionaire doctor, but today you just want to be known that you like classical music and shop at Trader Joe's and, you know, enjoy the sunsets. Like, it's up to you to disclose. I feel like we live in a world where it's like, here, send me your about me, send me your info. Like, I need that first. And like, I don't want to ever give anyone the anxiety that I get when someone says to me that. So like, I'm like, okay, just be you.
Yeah.
Like, if people resonate with you, they're going to find out.
I think some people that might be hard for. Yeah. Because I know some people have to prepare for everything. I like that because of my anxiety, but I know when to just also go with the flow.
For sure.
And I think people might find that like, oh my God, I have to just show up.
Well, that's why the podcast is called Dualitea. That's exactly what I want. Like, that's the sensation. It's I wouldn't say force. I would say it's an encouraged vulnerability.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like some people that want to come on don't come on because they might want more of that controlled aspect of like, I know what we're talking about. Tell me. The only thing that I will ever say, like, you know, is if anybody comes on like and they don't want to talk about something, like if something's off limits, like, you know, if I forget to say it, just tell me. You know what I mean? But I tend to, like, I'm pretty good at not touching into those boundaries of things, you know, because once again, like, the intention and the prayer, like, my intention of having people on here is not to combat, not to contrast. Like, people normally do that.
I mean, there's podcasts for that.
Yes,
you know,
exactly.
Like,
and there's plenty, right?
So there's a lot out there.
It's more about just encouragement. You know, and just being like, yo, like, this is you. I love seeing you. Also, what
I love about your podcast too is I told you this: the people that you bring on, they're real fucking people. Am I allowed to curse on you?
No, that's a part of the thing.
From New York, so it's like it comes out naturally. But I always feel like every time I've ever watched one of your episodes, I've come away like out of it with epiphanies or like some kind of like wow, like, you know, like I never, or perspective that I never really like saw before, you know, and I love that. That is so important that you do that. So I appreciate all the shit you do.
Thank you.
But
I appreciate
I know,
you.
I'm sorry, we keep going back and forth.
No, that's the podcast. That's how it is when we circle back whatever it's meant to talk about.
But
we're
this helped me some days is what I mean.
I appreciate
you know,
that.
So it's cool, and that's why I'm very excited to be on here, and I hope, you know, I can pay it forward.
Yeah. No, I mean, you literally are. Like, you are for me on the podcast as a host. So I know that's going to hit whoever it's meant to and like really sit with them when it's needed to. You know, it's like, that's the thing. Like, the people that come and sit in this chair, like, y'all inspire me. Like, I want your voice to be amplified because I see so much value in you. You know, and like, I'm grateful I have the platform. I'm grateful for Kenny for giving me the opportunity to have the platform to not only like seeing the same thing he's seen in me that I see in you. It's like, it just keeps paying forward. You know what I mean?
I think that's the biggest thing too, is just constantly paying it forward.
For sure. Paying it forward and then paying it back.
Yes.
You know, it's like I appreciate you and I appreciate Kenny. It's like just that paying it forward, paying it back, giving homage, and then also like being inspired by others, you know, and then inspiring others and encouraging others to continue to do that, because going back into the ups and the downs, like, that is what's so needed. You know, like yesterday we had a moon meeting, and for those that aren't local or aren't familiar with those things that I do, it's essentially a time of the month where community comes together during the full moon, and we usually like either write down what we want to let go of or burn it, or like do some kind of like cathartic kind of like ritual situation, like depending on what sign moon is in, what element that sign is in. But because it was an eclipse, there's a lot of energy that's at work when there's an eclipse, so I didn't really feel the need to do anything in that way. More so, we made these little
That's cool.
encouragement jars, and there's like so cute, really tiny, little tiny, and and it's like different herbs that mean different things. I put some books out for people to like educate themselves, and also like just explained what I know about the herbs.
This is so cool.
And like some oil and some different things, whatever. There's a few different things that are on the table for us to like do, and like say encouragement, encourage, like taking, because the thing when you're doing anything like mystical or just anything in general, like even just cooking, like there's a reason why certain people's food tastes different if you use the same recipe and same ingredients. Herbs and food are magical on their own, but when you understand your magic, you combine. It's like a tea bag and water. It's like the tea is doing its thing already, the water is doing its thing already, but when you make it hot and you let it steep,
it's like grandma's cooking
else.
You know what I mean? Like they leave it on a little extra. You know what I mean? You're just like, and then you get all that like
extra
you're
flavor.
just like,
I love that intention.
instead of just putting it on this and that and then leaving.
And that's the same difference of like people doing anything that's mystical, you know, whether creating like a cleansing bath or an encouragement jar, like whatever it is that you feel to do, like the ingredient is you. Like the missing ingredient, if you're lacking the essence, like anybody can take different herbs and put them in a jar, but if you're not talking to the herbs and giving reverence and respect to the energies that they carry alone, and then you're also your intentions, it's not activated. It's like having a bowl and then not playing it. It exists and it has a vibration on its own. If I speak really loudly, the vibration will echo off of it. But if I'm not playing it, we're not collaborating. You know what I mean? It's like you could have a photo and a person could be wanting to take a picture, but every time you take a picture, if they're moving the other way, you're not collaborating. You know, so it's like the same thing. So that's what I'm explaining about.
That's really cool.
Mysticism, to like debunk it a little bit, because I feel like people are like, you have to be super gifted and super aware, and you have to know. It's like you just have to ground yourself into being humble enough to know that there are powers that are greater than you, and then that you are a great power simultaneously. And that when you put anything, like drinking a cup of water, a cup of tea, making a soup could be just as healing as a healing bath if that's your intention. You know what I mean? It could be like some people could need a smudge, and other people could need like or an intricate bath, and then other people could just need to take salt water and just be like, blam, I want it out. Like, you know what I mean? But it's the intention, it's the energy, because I know with me, like, I can be very serious and very strict about things, and then other times I'm like more nonchalant, but still very intentional. People be like, "What? Like, you're a spiritual leader?" And you're like over here, and I'm like, first of all, I don't even know how I feel about that title. Second of all, like, sometimes you just need to be like, "Blow," like that's it. Like, you don't need to do anything more. Like, Creator knows you mean it with love. You know, Creator knows that you love. And blow might just be the only word, like, you know. So it's that's so to get into that, like the whole thing about the moon meets. We were talking about encouragement. I wanted the whole meeting to be centered around encouragement because I know for me, when I came out of October, I felt like I woke up from a weird fucking nap, right? So I felt like I was just like, oh, okay, boom. Especially the last 2 weeks of October and like the week before October, weirdly enough. Like I had like 2 weeks where I'm like, I'm like, but grief works
but
like that.
Yeah.
You know,
you know it's coming probably.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and even if you don't remember it's coming, which obviously, like, you know, most of the time you do. And we were talking about this yesterday too, like your cellular memory remembers and activates. Like, and that doesn't have to do just with death. Like that can do with breakups. That can do with all these different things you ever wonder.
Triggers,
like,
triggering.
And even if it's not cognizant, it can be subconscious and cellular. Like we get activated, and like if you just have a bunch of anxiety and you don't know why, like, nothing seemingly provoked you, I encourage you to either like sit with yourself if it feels comfortable. It might feel comfortable, so maybe even look at your pictures from the year before to see what you were doing that day. Because even just understanding like, oh shit, I lost my wallet this day last year.
That's why I'm.
And
right
then
now,
you can just ground and like grab your wallet and be like, all right, you know, I know you live, like, you know, it's okay, and you can release that trapped emotion, because a lot of times that's what it is. It's like the trapped emotion trying to get attention, to be like, yo, fuck, release me. And you're like, nah, I don't got time for you. I gotta keep pushing. I gotta make money. I gotta keep it going. Like, I gotta keep the show going. I gotta keep my life going. But yet, a lot of times, that's what makes the show get canceled. That's what makes us have to take breaks, is when we're pushing past those feelings. And I was nervous. I was talking
so insightful. Yeah.
I was talking with my therapist. I'm like, I think I just got a splinter.
Oh no.
I'm like, it's okay. I'll deal with it later.
Oh no. You gotta put that at the beginning. You got a splinter.
Yeah, like I think I just got a splinter. But actually, I just pulled it out. Okay. But yeah, like all of that to say, the whole objective of last night was about encouragement. I wanted to center that, not really doing any kind of like letting go or calling it. Like, let's just encourage ourselves. Yeah. You know, not only ourselves, but let's encourage one another. So we all took turns of saying like something that we want to do, and then we all said, "I believe in you." Aww. You know, just to like. You hear that verbal confirmation.
That validation.
Absolutely. Healthy validation. Yeah. We can't, if you identify that you are a people pleaser, a recovering people pleaser, and you're like, I can't be validated by anyone, then you're so, like, you're depriving yourself, and guess what? Subconsciously, you're going to be still getting validation. It's going to be tricking yourself. Yeah. Like, so just do it. Like, do it in a good place, you know? Like, I remember saying to my mom one time, like, I didn't realize why I did what I did, but I just knew I did it. Like, we were in Colombia, we were in customs. And I remember I said, Mom, I was like, because, you know, people in customs are so down. They're mad serious, right? Like, I have to be this. I'm pretending, you know? So I'm like, okay. I'm going to make him smile. I was like, just challenge accepted. Like, and in my mind, it was very pure. I'm like, I'm just going to make him smile. Like, I want someone to smile. And that's real. That's real. It did. Yeah.
Did you smile? Because they were really hard.
No, mad hard. You know what I'm saying? I did two people. I was like, oh, yeah, a man and a woman. So I was like, because my brain was like, challenge accepted. And that's where we can circle back to the beginning of the podcast. That's the Leo rising.
Yes.
And also my Libra moon, too, for sure. It's definitely both of them. But it's like, okay, I want to make someone smile. Okay, cool. That's good. That's genuine. But it's also a challenge now. So, like, you know, what are my limits? So my point is like, although that was coming from a pure place, but it was also coming from like a place of needing validation. Like, I can do this, you know what I mean? And although it was like a harmless act, once you start to become aware of you doing things like that, you're less prone to do things like that, but also doing things like that can help the world go around. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So it's like, you gotta like, you know, some people are like, they do certain jobs. They have certain things in their day-to-day basis because they get something back from people, you know. The most amazing doctors or nurses or waitresses, they might be super people pleasers in a certain aspect. And if they identify they're a people pleaser and they lose that lackluster, right? They're not, they don't want to do it anymore because they're like, no, I don't want the validation.
Yeah, I mean, I was a waitress for a very long time, so I felt like my people pleasing comes from like that customer service space.
Yeah, well,
customer service, right? Yeah, and then that's just like your mentality when you work in retail for like years and years and years, you know. And then you're just like, yeah, customers. But then having your own business, that completely changes. So yeah, it's like, it's nice to feel validated too when people are like, you know, you should feel, you know, encouraged and doing your thing. You're doing a great job. You know,
Absolutely. It's like the thing is like finding the balance with validation. I feel like you know, just not doing too much of that, like not needing it from everyone and everything, because then you're constantly pulling, and then also not allowing yourself to receive it, because like we were saying before, if you don't allow yourself to receive it, now that's where the lack of motivation comes in. That's where the stagnancy comes in. And that's where other things can roll in. And I'm not saying that everybody's like that, but it's a lot more, it's just finding balance. You know what I mean? And finding the extremes. Like, it's like when you notice you're doing one thing, you might not do it at all. But maybe you should do it some.
Yeah, I also feel like, you know, age has a little bit to do with it, because it's hard to balance stuff, especially when I was younger. I had like 4 jobs. You know what I mean? Yeah. Trying to figure out, like, you know, how to afford my rent and all this other stuff. So it's like at different points of your life, there's a different kind of things you have to balance. And I think it's just definitely hard to find those balances within all of that. And that's what the ups and downs really comes back. You're just like constantly struggling with that balance. Yeah. You know, of like, yeah, this is working, but then I'm suffering here. So you have to figure out.
Yeah, it's like balance is not a destination, it's an action.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
It's like, it's a tightrope in a way, you know, and with that knowing is like, you know, like even coming from October and feeling that low, and then like November hit and I was like, whoa, okay, stretches, yawns. I'm like, we're in November, what the fuck? But okay, I feel okay. And then I mentally was starting to feel more, like I felt the incline coming. Like I felt like I was starting to like, and then physically, like literally yesterday, this full moon, I was like, I'm waking up and I am meditating while it's eclipsed. So I'm like, I woke up at 5:30 in the morning, like,
and it's eclipsing till like 6:45 or something.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. And like, I was like, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna talk to myself, you know, whatever it was. And I did that, and I was up literally till like 2 o'clock in the morning, 2:30 in the morning, because you know the moon went late, and like I felt so vitalized though. Even I had to like talk myself down to sleep, and I'm like,
yeah, you probably were so like,
I was so up with the energy, because it was just one thing back to back to back all day yesterday, but it was so good because
fulfilling, I think, is what it was. That's why you didn't
coming
mind.
out of those, coming out of those lows. Like just doing the opposite action is something that can seem really hard, but it's like so useful. You know, if you're like, I just want to lay in bed and say like, let's go outside, even if it's to the balcony, even if it's to the backyard, for 2 seconds, just do an opposite action, and it's like just allowing yourself to break the cycle and just pop the bubble, because it's like the bubble's nice and it's beautiful. It's like almost like tantalizing in a way. It's like euphoric. Like looking at a bubble, it's there, but it's not there, and it has all these colors, but it's see-through.
It's so see-through.
Yeah. And then as soon as you pop it, you're like, oh shit, there's like a car coming. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it could be a beautiful place to drift off to, but like when some point you gotta come back. Or else you'll be in danger.
It's a reality for you. I know, a dose, you need a good dose.
For sure. And like sometimes those pops are like big, and sometimes it's just like graceful, you know. So, and sometimes those bubbles are small, and sometimes they're huge. So sometimes they distract us, and they're safe to distract us because what's coming in the distance seems scary. But then at a certain point, when it's getting closer to you, like you gotta look it in the face.
Absolutely, yeah. I always feel like too, like I've been working probably for like the last month. Maybe 2 months since like that last event. I had something almost every single day. I'm like, upcoming next 2 weeks after this weekend, I'll actually have nothing to do. And it kind of freaks me out a little bit, because I'm like, when that happens, I get depressed. Yeah. So like I have to like learn, like my biggest battle right now is learning how to just exist with no art, with nothing, you know, without that's what you're doing. I know. That's what
to do is to just be, to just not.
And that is the hard thing for me, is just to exist, because like I do suffer from depression and stuff, as millions of other people do in this world. And so when you do work with your hands a lot, you tend to forget, you know, not forget, but you put your mind all in focus into this one thing that you're creating. So that's why I'm so the way I am, is because sometimes I have to be doing something. But right now, currently, I'm learning. That's why I have 2 weeks off. I'm going to, like, really try to work on myself, really, because I never put myself anywhere first. Usually it's you know, family art, like, you know, somewhere.
Well, that's
so
a great thing
it's
that you're
definitely,
coming
yeah, and understanding that I needed to do that.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize I was doing that for a really long time.
Most people don't. They just get caught in that cycle. They don't even realize it until you're like completely drained and
also,
burnt out.
I think the support system I currently have right now is been the best I've ever had, and it allows me to. They kind of bring me back to reality, and you need people like that because sometimes you're floating too high, your dreams are too like crazy, and you're like, wait, you have to like take a step back because this is insane. You know, like, you're like, I have a lot of stuff like that.
You can't be the president first. You have to like be in the Senate.
Exactly.
Like, you have to, like, start
you
somewhere.
gotta work your way up, and,
and
sometimes, you know, you have all these ambitions and goals, and so for someone like me, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking do this, you know, and I sometimes don't have a chill, so like I need somebody who has a chill and like that is like, come back, you're going too far out, you know, like back to us. Because you're getting crazy. Yeah. And I definitely encourage, like, throughout my entire life, I've had someone in my life that has been, like, stop me and be like, hey, like, are you okay? Like, take care of yourself. Like
grounding.
Yeah, understand, like, you know, this is just happening, but, like, you still matter. And if I didn't have anybody like that, and this is, some people I still talk to, some people I don't even talk to anymore, but they were there for me in that moment that I needed them. So, like, that's why I appreciate people so much, because it's like, you don't understand, like, anybody could help you, anybody at any moment in your life.
Be the homeless man on the corner.
Exactly.
The little boy that's walking with their mom that just looks at you and says random words.
Oh my God, like, I love that too. That just reminded me of when I was filming my Alien project. We were filming the movie, and there was just so many kids that were just like, the adults were like, "What the hell is that?" But the kids were so open to the alien and stuff. So it was so cool just to see different perspectives.
They were your little reminders and encouragers, like, you're doing something, like, keep doing it, like, you know, people are receptive to it.
Exactly, and I wanted to give up so many times on that project. So it was the most encouraging to see other people react, you know, and interact with you and being like, hey, don't give up. This is all, you still have value despite what you're telling yourself, you know? And I think that's the biggest takeaway that people, you know, currently, like, at anything you hear me say is know that we all have a huge amount of value on this planet. Like,
absolutely,
we all have a reason, even if it's you know, not a spiritual reason. It could be, like, literally just because we're just exist, and that's enough for me, at least. You know what I'm saying? But it's important that we realize that, and that, you know, like, we need human contact. Human needs other human. Like, that's just facts, you know? We need other people to be like, you're not alone, you're doing great, because this world fucking sucks. And not even world, Mother Nature is no joke, you know? Exactly.
It's the humans.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
We need the humans, but we also need the humans, like, chill the fuck out. Exactly. Like, realize we need each other, and we need the earth. Like.
Yes, exactly my point. So if you could take away anything out of this conversation, is to know that if nobody told you today, you matter and you have value. And even if you think you don't, I'm telling you right now, that's a lie, and you do. And you just got to figure out what that is, you know, and you will. If I could do it and have absolutely nothing and then build all of the stuff that I have now, and I think anybody can do it. Anybody can do it, because I was going nowhere, you know, up until I turned 30, and it completely changed my life. So, you know, it's just how it is sometimes. Like, you have no direction. Sometimes you don't have direction for a while. You could be in your 40s, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter what age you are. But you just have to constantly, you know, work and figure out, like, you know, like, have the right people there saying, like, you matter. You even when you make those mistakes, because I've made a ton of mistakes that I wish I can, you know, not that I regret anything, but, like, I definitely wish I would handle things differently, or, you know, maybe said something a little different, or, you know, whatever that is. But I always feel like, you know,
even
whatever
that shapes you who you are now, because you might have not known if you didn't experience that.
Very true. And also, I recognize now, like, you know,
when it's happening,
right,
like, a bigger point.
Yes,
that's like,
so it definitely is true. I didn't think about it like that, but it definitely is like that. So I'm grateful that I'm able to understand this now, and that the people I do have in my life, especially the ones that have been there for a long time, you know, like, constantly just, when I'm having good day, bad, it doesn't matter. Like, they're just like, hey, I love you. Like, you're great. Like, you're doing so great. I can't believe you're doing this. Or, like, these little things, even if it doesn't matter, even if it just has to do with my daughter, they're saying, wow, you're such a great mom. Because sometimes being a mother is a lot of, it's a lot of, like, good and bad. So it's like, you have to raise kids, and they're not going to like it. So sometimes they do and sometimes they don't, and
These humans are like, what do you mean? I just raised myself. I'm a whole being.
Oh my God, after a certain age, it's like they think they could, and they're so grown. And so, like, you have to, like, bring them back again, be their support system and bring them back to earth and be like, hey, like, you do need help. Everybody does, not just you, but, like, everybody, no matter what age. And that's the really thing I always try to tell my daughter is just, like, like, we all need help sometimes, like, no matter what. So always ask for it, because you never know, it could change your life in a completely different way. You can make a whole new networking thing, and then, now you're doing something completely different because, you reached out, or somebody reached out to you, and you accepted that whatever they gave you, Now, I'm a big human fan. Humans. I like humans. They're horrible and great at the same time.
Absolutely. No, for real. It really is so true. And it's like, that's like, there's a few things I want to piggyback on what you were saying. And one of the first ones that's a little bit, we'll ease into the thing. So, like, the first thing is, like, we were talking about in the beginning about different clothing and stuff. And
yes.
It's funny because I still didn't tell you why I'm wearing the shirt.
Oh,
right?
yes.
Yes.
That looks so long.
Right? And it's like, so, and that gets us circling back. So, like, talking about humans and talking about pride, right? This is Pride from Full Metal Alchemist. And it's like, this is the, we're talking about the ups and the downs, right? And it's like, in the show, there's, like, the 7 deadly sins. And there's, like, gluttony, pride, lust, like, all of them, right? And the reason why I chose to wear this is because it's like, it shows, like, the scary parts of it, but at the same token, in order for me to come here and be able to speak and have confidence, I have to be prideful, you know? So it's like showing the duality nature of that. And, like, you were talking about the expressions of different things that we wear and different things that we feel, and, like, acknowledging your shirt.
That's kind of funny that you say that about fear, because, like, I always tell my daughter Riley, like, I am the most scared when I'm the bravest,
Absolutely.
And, like, I tell her that all the time because she's like, I don't understand, like, you just do. I'm like, no. No.
I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna do it scared.
I'm scared.
Terrified of it.
Yep. Or, like, even just, like, trying to capture one of those crazy wasp things that you're, like, nobody's around but you, and you have no choice. So you're like, shit, where's the
anyone but yourself, you're like, just me and you.
So you're like,
me and you.
You gotta do it. That's how I described her, so she can understand, because that's how life feels sometimes. It feels fucking scary, and then you have to do these things that you don't want to do, and it scares the shit out of you. And sometimes it's gonna kill you, and sometimes it's not gonna kill you, but, like, it feels like it is.
Yeah.
And so as soon as I said that, and she was like, oh, yeah, exactly.
And it's a good thing to have. It's a good barrier to have, because, like, for, like, even, like, with the shirt, like, the person in this, I don't want to ruin the show to anybody, but, like, there's a not so good thing about, like, these 7 deadly sins, right? The way it sounds. And it's like, it can consume you. It's this otherness, right? And, like, this is a theme that's coming a lot right now in a lot of people's reality. Like, it's not the people that are innately bad, it's what gets in them.
Yeah.
It's what gets in them and then comes out of them. What's in them and comes out of them, or never comes out, or maybe it's on them. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I think that having those moments where you're like, I'm fucking scared, but I'm going to do this, and it's bigger than just me. And it's like, that is a really big green flag that you are in a balanced place, that you have the will to want to do it, but the fear, knowing that, like, how much your impact can permeate and affect others, and
what
how affect yourself.
Yeah, exactly, which is crazy to hear it like that. Yes, now that I think about it. It is good. I always tell her too, like, yes, I'm scared, and, like, we have to do this, but also, like, the more you do it, so the more rooms you get stuck with a wasp. You know what I mean? You're gonna find different ways and different strategies to get the wasp. You know what I mean? So that's another way. I was like, yes, I'm scared of shit, but like the more I do it, like this is like my maybe I have a couple podcasts now seasoned, so now it's easier for me. My first podcast, I was like,
Yeah, I completely get that. I was the same way. I was
like,
the same way.
I don't even know what to do.
Even sometimes when I take a break and then I come back, I'm like, Kenny, I'm scared. I'm scared, Kenny. I feel nervous.
Yeah, no, it's horrible. But it's the more you do it, the better. Not that you won't be scared, but it comes less and less. And I feel like
you become more comfortable navigating that space of the unknown.
Right.
And like that's a beautiful thing that you're instilling in your daughter.
Yeah, I'm trying. Because I always encourage it. Like when I was little, I had a speech problem. I had to go to speech class because I was so scared of talking because I was just such a shy introvert person. And to see how I am now as like a woman and like really it's like total opposite and people would assume. But even my own family would just call me Giggles because I would just laugh. And but I had like a speech problem. I would stutter because I would be so scared. And I don't know where that came from. It was just such a bad anxiety I was just always naturally had. So I always feel like, coming from like that side of me and then just seeing how much, and I use that as an example of how far I've come, even just as a little girl, you know what I mean? And so this, like, I used to, not talk at all. So the fact that I'm talking on a podcast in front of billions of people.
Exactly. You're doing it,
crazy. I never think about that when I'm little, like, thinking like, oh my God, I'm going to be on a podcast. I'm going to make art. I'm going to do all this shit. And it's going to be great. Never.
That's like that trend on like TikTok and Instagram that's like,
I love that.
Does anybody? I wish more people buy my art, and then it's like you're selling art. It's like baby you, and it's so like that. I really resonate with what you're saying as far as like being super shy and like not speaking, and then to having a space like this, and even like to being a person leading anything, like anything, period. Like anything that I do that like leading or curating is like always like my inner child is like,
what I do,
like, oh my God, like I'm afraid, but I'm also so fucking proud. Like, it's such a beautiful thing. It's both. One really, it's really hard to have one without the other.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just putting events together too, and you're constantly having to be in the community, which I love. And I love this community. I mean, I'm born and raised on North Shore, so like, like this is to me, this is where I grew up. Yeah. And I feel very comfortable here, so I think it's important just to, have spaces like the Hub and that I can have my inner child come and be like, hey, I'm different now. Like I can actually, help people with what I say, versus just, not talking at all.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is great. And it's so different. So I think what I wanted with her as I start to see her, really become her own person is her giving her the confidence I never had. And I think that to me is why I do the things I do with her, because I want her to feel empowered in a way I never felt. And it's just the same way of paying it forward and just doing it with my own child, But I would do it with anybody's kid if I had the opportunity, or if that, if that lesson was there and I had the opportunity to share that with whoever it was, But the fact that I get to do it with my own kid is really great, and I hope that she can eventually, pass that along too, and keep paying it forward so we can have at least some people inspired.
And it shows. It really shows. Like I've had the honor to meet your daughter, and she's such a beautiful human being.
Oh, thank you.
And literally seeing her in the different spaces that I've seen her and observing her.
She's been around art. Yeah, she's been around art. I feel like she knows all you guys.
Yeah, and she's so sweet. Like even if she wasn't, I was speaking with your partner about. I forgot exactly. I think I was talking about at the event. I was talking about how you set up the booth, right? And I was talking about that. And I was talking about how I've never had a reading that I've gotten so much from in the way that it did. Like I've had plenty of readings that felt like super amazing, but like it was like I was crying.
Wow.
Like I was like crying, which happens, but
Yeah.
it was in it was an older woman who. It was seasoned in life and an elder to look up to, and the fact that she trusted enough, and all she needed was encouragement and she knew what was going on. All she needed was encouragement and reaffirmation of what was going on within her and around her.
Right.
And I was so honored to give that, and I was expressing that to your partner, and your daughter was listening to the whole conversation, and I was like watching her. Observe and in other spaces too, and which I do want to also talk about another thing after this is like, I just want to give you your flowers because I know, like, you know, watching like my sister and watching like people that are such incredible moms, like do such incredible things for their children, like, and how much intent and nurturing that you guys put in, and the fact that that's like, it's something that I feel like in motherhood that doesn't get acknowledged enough. Like, the same way when we're doing like inner work, you know, barely anyone can acknowledge it besides people that are doing inner work. And although I'm not a mother, I mean, mother of my 2 fur babies, but like, I can
You can still
look
be
at
motherly in different ways. I always feel that. Yeah.
For sure. It's like, well, it's always within us, you know? And like, but I can look at someone like my sister and someone like you, and like seeing how the energy of your daughter and how she works in these spaces and absorbs and also puts out, like, you have done an incredible job.
Thank you. I mean, I honestly feel like I mean, I'm gonna be real. I never really anticipated on having kids. I really didn't really, you know, see that in my stars. But after, you know, and then having the situation happen, and it is what it is, and I can't even think about. I don't even know. I feel like I would be a piece of shit if I didn't have someone like my daughter. You know what I mean? Like, she brings so much to the table. Kids in general, just they humble you in such a way that no one else can. Not even your parents. You know. So I find her to be more of, and I hate to say, sounds so cliche, but so annoying. I think almost don't want
cliches like cliches for a reason. And they
are like, I feel so, you know, blessed to have you know, just herself, just being her, and like, she's taught me from being my single mom days to now, and just the transformation we both had together. And I think that's what's so special. And I don't treat her as just like my, you know, like, oh yeah, she's my kid, and like, you know, but she's so much more than that to me.
Yeah.
And I think that's the value I give her, you know, is really what, and I love her so much. Like, she's just taught me so much. even though she just fights with me about, like,
of course,
the most ridiculous things, like not wearing boots and stuff. But like, but you know, I still love the crap out of her, and we're learning together, so that's what makes it so special. That we're able to, like, you know, like, I'm not, you know, perfect mom. I'm not a perfect mom, you know, like, I
it
have
doesn't exist.
You know, so it's like, you know, and just making sure she realizes that and understands, like, that I'm not perfect, and that, you know, when I do have these situations I have where we argue and stuff, that if I'm just gonna apologize, I yelled at you too hard, and like, you know, so just always just, you know, making sure that I feel like, you know, she's just more than just a kid. It's not just telling her what's right and wrong. It's more than that.
She's a little human being.
Yeah, like, she's a human that has no idea what's going on, you know.
Like, just doing her best.
Yeah, like, just keep it to this girl, like, what's happened? I'm here now. Like, you know, what happens now? So it's definitely, it's a challenge. I really, like, appreciate her. But I mean, the 26-year-old me was, you know, that's when I had her, and I was like a whole different hot mess of a CC. So
well, you know, I just have to say, like, I'm just so grateful to, like, to have friends that are such incredible mothers, and like have such incredible mothers around me, you know, just mothering. And like, it's like, it's interesting to, like, observe that, and just to see, like, I just, there's never enough flowers that can be given, because I feel like y'all have so much. It's an extension of you. And like, if you want to talk about doing self-worth, doing self-work, having kids makes you do that 10 times harder, because it's like different versions of yourself getting exalted.
Yeah.
You know, and
also your body just is complete, like, it's definitely different from, that's why it's like sex, like, some men understand this and some men do not, and I don't really have patience to, like, argue about it. But yes, like, men and women, we both need to, you know, whatever, you need both people, but women go through such an emotional and physical change that no one can prepare you for. And when you go through all that stuff, especially after you have a kid, it transforms you in such a way. It, like, it's a traumatic trauma almost that happens when you're giving birth, is what I'm trying to say. Not like after is the best part, because now they're not in there anymore. But, you know, going through all this stuff, it completely changes you. And I feel like men sometimes don't have enough. they don't really understand because they're not the ones.
They're not carrying.
Yeah,
It's like
so
it's not the physical action.
Yeah, not
It's,
that they don't appreciate, because I'm grateful
yeah,
I
some
have
people can
does.
be intuitive and
Right,
but they can
yeah.
literally never physically have that experience. So like on a very like, you know, realistic basis.
For years, our bodies are never going to be the same,
Yeah.
you know, forever probably. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say, you know, like, and then it changes every time. So it's just, you give up so much. I don't think women really understand or are
The
ready
sacrifice, yeah.
that you give up so much of yourself, and
Yeah.
not just mentally, but physically. And it's a lot. It's definitely a lot, but is it worth it? Oh my God, it completely changed my life. So I want to say yes.
And to
But
piggyback,
if you know, are there to receive, if that's what you want, you know, I wasn't even sure.
yeah.
But sometimes, you know, universe just knows.
Yeah, knows exactly what
Yeah.
you need and who you need, and
Right.
what to send you. Yeah, no, the universe is so intelligent and works in such incredible ways. And it's like, you know, to piggyback on what you were saying before, as far as having a support system and being a support system, I just want to openly acknowledge you and like, all right, I'm emotional. You know, October 29th, I put together a candle lighting for my father, and for those who, it was open to whoever lost anyone in Hurricane Sandy, to do a candle lighting and to light lanterns. And I've never lit lanterns, but I just thought it would be really incredible. I did like a lot of research on lanterns and like where it comes from, and like honored and gave homage to, you know, all of the Asian culture in Japan and China for creating these little mini hot air balloons and doing that. It's a really incredible thing. And when I was still like debating on if I was going to do that, like I had that conversation with you here when you were prepping for your show and your event, and you know, you were so encouraging, and you've always been so encouraging, and like you were so encouraging, but you made it tangible. You're like, yeah, like no, I did this, and I'm like, because I'm over here like, do I need a permit? Like, I was like,
you're really like,
I was stressing about it, because it's like, it's one thing for like other people to do an event and to curate an event. If you were like, hey, sis, could you help me, like, just put this together real quick? I'd be like, oh, no problem. Like we'll do it.
I also, like, you were just popping in. Like, it wasn't, I was, like, putting stuff up. And I'm like, hey, you can just do this.
And then once you said it, it was, like, so encouraging, because, like, I was talking to other people, and they were like, I don't know. I'm like, but have you ever done it? No. Okay, so, like, why am I asking? You know, it's just, like... You know,
I've done it
different
also.
things.
That's
Exactly. So you were like, you made it so attainable in that way, and then it wasn't only like just like the very grounded aspect of having that, like, you know, quick pop-in conversation, but like also, you know, being a safe space for me to express the fact that like I needed to be the person that I always need and that my family needs. You know, I needed to step up. Like, this was my year. Like, I'm the baby, but I'm 27 now. You know what I mean? Like, and it was my turn to like make and curate something. And you know, it's one thing to curate. It's always scary to like kind of curate something, but like especially when you're affected by something and it's like a memorial or like something that's involved in grief, brings a whole other aspect into curating something. And you know, I wouldn't have necessarily opened it up for the public if my father had passed in any other way, but because I wanted to create a safe space for anyone else who also lost a family member or a loved one in the way, because every year I was hearing that someone was doing a memorial and none of us were invited to it, and I just thought it was really fucking weird. So I was like, all right, well, you know, I put it into the Staten Island Live, like all of the groups. So I'm like, hey, is anybody doing anything? I did that in like September.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, no one said anything.
But I
was
didn't
like, okay,
say
cool.
why.
Yeah, no, for people who didn't know, like, you didn't understand. And then I put it again. I was like, can one like help? Like, you know, I don't know how to do. And like, there was only like a few people that responded. Like, but one person like more so was just almost like, well, what neighborhood are you including? And I'm like, what? Like, what does that mean? Like, yeah, anyone who's affected or would like to support this, like, and I'm like, why am I getting pressed? Like, all you literally need to do is like, you know, Googling my name. You know what I mean? And that's like, it's just, that's why I'm like, what the fuck? Like, the first one I posted, like, someone like wrote, like, someone's like uncle wrote like a funny joke, and I'm like, this is not the case. But I just went, LOL, bro. Like, that was my response to it. I was just like, I can't. I'm like, all right. So
I know the internet's such a weird place.
So fucking weird. But if I said fuck the South Shore, forget it. It would be 2,000 comments. So like, I was like, all right, you know, whatever.
You gotta start with that.
Yeah. Fuck the South Shore. Who's doing Hurricane Sandy Memorial? Oh, okay, cool. So It's like the clickbait.
Yes,
it's the same shit.
it's
You know
so
what I mean?
annoying.
And I understand that. I just wanted to know, like, I'm not expecting people to come out and like I'm gonna dedicate my time to this. It was just more so like I'm like, hey, y'all do this right every year, right?
Yeah,
Like every year someone's doing something, right?
That's
So
crazy,
who
yeah.
wants to let us know? You know,
Yeah.
even if it was just like an open invitation.
Wow.
You know, like like even if someone put us in the advance, like this is what we're doing. Make sure you let people know who
Yeah.
are in the families, because like not everyone reads the
I don't know
paper.
why they don't do that.
It's
This,
fucking
to me,
weird.
is kind of fucking weird. Yeah.
It's weird. It's a
I
strange
would love
thing.
to do something, eventually. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah,
but
that's it.
yeah.
It's like this year in particular, it was just symbolic because it was 10 years, and like, like it doesn't always have to be like a grandiose thing, but like simultaneously, like, me and my family are always going to do something, but just because it was 10 years, we want to do something. So like, to kind of like get back into like what I was saying, when you became aware of, my loss and things like that, and like your instant encouragement wanting to do what you were literally designing curating an entire like immersive theater experience and more, like, and like, I can do
like
this.
5 projects.
I'm doing, and you're like, no, I can do it. It's Friday. I can do it. I have 4 days. It's fine. Like tomorrow, no problem. And I'm like, like. It's crazy because it's like it's wild. Like people your whole life, or you can know people for 5 minutes, you know people for a few years, and you never know who can show up for you in ways that you need. And it always involves like speaking up and like putting it out there. And I was feeling so discouraged because I felt so vulnerable for putting myself out there and being like, hey, I need fucking help, please, someone. And everyone's like, I don't know, like
It's crazy. I didn't know you were doing all of that, so that's crazy.
And then the weirdest thing was, not to like focus on the negative, but like the other thing was like people posted like an event about like another event that was going on
Really?
in the same group. So I mean, yes, you might have not seen it.
I don't know if I've
but
seen it, but yeah.
100,000 people couldn't have like tagged something. 100,000 people in the,
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm just like, okay, all right, it's fine. It's fine. It wasn't meant to be. I was meant to do this. So that's how I took it. I took it with a grain of salt and a lot of lemon, and I just like, and honey too, like I like, these are all things I love. But and then move forward with it. So like when the day came, and when you had created the letters to heaven little art installation that was so beautiful, and like, and it was small, but it was big in gesture. It was enormous in impact, and offering to record it for for my family, and doing it just out of the kindness of your heart, like no publicity, no nothing, like just simply doing it because like that's what you felt moved to do. Like I can't ever give you enough like a credit and recognition for that.
I love
for
you.
real. And like,
I appreciate that.
of course. And the moment that when I was walking and like you seen me being flustered, there was a few times I was very flustered. There's a few times I was like, once the day came, I was like, fuck, I gotta do it now.
I know. That's why I already know.
I'm like, fuck, like I gotta speak.
Too,
like I gotta speak into like this group of people, which majority of the family, and like. And then I gotta like figure out like I have to like lead everyone to like, which it wasn't like the hugest thing, but it was like, my brain was like, okay, like you're here, you gotta speak. So there was the one particular moment where I remember when we were walking from the gazebo down to the beach, and you were like, just be present and like absorb as much as you can because these moments are fleeting and you're doing a great job. And like, I just wanted to say the validation and the encouragement and the support that you gave me. I mean, like, you gave me more support than I've experienced from most people in my entire life in that one moment.
Wow, yeah.
So
I love you. I mean, I would have done it 1,000 times. I still will, So I'm definitely here for you. And it's crazy that whole experience, like I've done my own, like I've had my aunt pass, and she was such a monarch to our family. Like, losing her was like losing a parent. Yeah. And that always sticks with me, those feelings of loss, because nothing could ever change those feelings. Yeah. Even time, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. And so creating something like Letters to Heaven, like I had like a lot, I was like, I remember being in my office, I created that the day of, just to be like, I wanted to have something where people could just let it out. Yeah. Because I know personally, sometimes when the anniversaries come of people's deaths, it can be bittersweet, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You want to celebrate their life, but then you also remember their life and how much they gave you. Yeah. So it's definitely like a hard moment, and I wanted to make sure people were able to just let it out, because 10 years is a long time to not be with somebody. And I know that, you know, I mean, it's only been 7 years for me, you know, so like I can't imagine, you know, and it was important to do that. I honestly, like, your family is amazing. I wish I would have known your father. I probably would have been best friends with him. It sounds like
you really would have. Really would have loved you.
You know, like, you did an amazing job just curating the whole event, and the lanterns were great, you know, like the lanterns went off, and, you know, at first it was a little tricky, but everybody got it, you know, and I got such beautiful shots, and it was a beautiful night of remembering people who had value and still do in our lives, you know. So I'm grateful to be a part of that, and just to send that message to whoever needed it at that time, and then maybe it was you. So
I really appreciate it, and it's and
I love you too. I love you so much.
I love you too. Thank you so much. And like, you know, that I got to share that with my father's sister, my aunt, you know, who had just had surgery, so she wasn't able to be there. Like, my other sister who got caught up at work, you know, she couldn't get off. She's a nurse, you know.
Oh,
so
wow.
she couldn't come, and like my cousins, and for anyone and my babe cousins, and like for anyone who wasn't able to attend, it wasn't not only being there, but it was your lens of like constantly getting my niece, my 6-year-old niece that Lena Bean, you know,
she's so cute, by the way. Oh my God, them two are so cute. I could tell, but like, she's just so she actually, just because my daughter was there too, and she just grabbed my daughter's hand, and they were like best friends.
It was instantly like, once I walked over there, Lena came over to me. She was like, I can make a friend right here. Like, and now
like we're friends now, right?
It was so cute, and your daughter was so receptive and you know, and sweet despite like age difference and stuff, because you know, kids can be so interesting with that, you know. So it was really such a beautiful thing, and I was able to like take that moment and in a really loving and beautiful and professional way, you know, be able to show it where they got to be there.
Right.
They got to be there. They were there in spirit, and they got to visually see. Yeah. You know, so I just, you know,
someone did that for me. That's kind of funny though, because I had an ex do that for me. His name is Michael Brick, and he is a great videographer, but like he just came and he did it for when I had my anniversary for that. So I was like, this is a way for me to pay it forward to somebody that I know would absolutely value this forever. Right. You know, so absolutely, like, anytime, you know, I'm always here for you. So
I appreciate it. So
I can't believe I did that in one day too.
You're incredible. Like, literally, I will never stop telling you how incredible you are, because you just completely, you guys, like, there's this not even expectation, just like this realm of like, oh wow, you do so many things, it's so beautiful, and then you're like, nah, believe this.
You know what I find out? You know what I find? I feel like people make too many excuses to not do the things that they're trying to do. You know what I mean? They're worried about the issues. Well, we can't do it this way, so then you find another way. So that's what I feel like is just it's challenging. You just have to keep working through your stuff, you know.
Absolutely.
But that was a great event. I'm glad you did that, and I feel like I left it there for a little while, and so I want to do that installation more, because I would like to, you know, have all, you know, and maybe make it something bigger one day. Because so many people, even people that weren't, you know, in your family,
that could be something exactly for everyone, it's like, you know, from the state of this day, people can go over to the ocean, because it's also very symbolic for even no matter how you lost someone, the ocean is so like vast and like mysterious, and just like the in between like worlds, I feel like, in a big way. So it's like such a conduit for those messages as well. You know, like even like writing on dissolvable paper and putting it into the ocean, you know, like
absolutely.
There's so many things that can be done with that, and that's something that's like really beautiful. I know for me, like I always want to give back, especially to people that like have like these experiences that like, especially that go on with like without acknowledgement from community, you know, and it's like, you know, but like community. Let me rephrase that. I don't want to say the community. I would say it seems like the people who could benefit from these things tend to like exploit them.
Yes.
And then the actual community and the people who are needed to kind of support those things maybe are too busy, or maybe don't think of it.
I think it's their intention that's not right. So like I that's a huge thing, a problem that exists especially in New York in general, is all these artists. Some of them have great, amazing messages, and then some of them are literally just like, I don't understand. It's only promoting more, you know, it's only making people more separated and not bringing people together. So when art doesn't have not that art needs an attention, because art could be just art, but when it brings bad intentions into things, I think that's when it's like, it sucks to not, like, if I did an art project about Hurricane Sandy, I would immediately research all the names. I would reach out to all of the people. Like, I wouldn't just, I would, maybe I'll do it first and then reach out to them so they're okay with it.
Or at least, like, putting something, even if you're going to put it in the platform, put it in places that people can see like,
it,
and be like, hey, reach out to the family for me.
Right.
Because, like, some people, I understand how it could be intimidating to, like, want to reach out to families because you don't know, like,
Yes
especially.
and no, but if you're doing a project
for them, if you're writing
something,
someone's name on it, I would like to know.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, when I did, okay, I'll this is a example of, like, when I did the BLM installation on my front lawn, I listed names. I did reach out to some people, like Eric Gardner's family, and some people that I was trying just to find out more information about them and tell them I'm doing this project, and, like, so even just that, just
the research aspect,
emailing them, just saying, like, hey, this like, I'm doing this, like,
Yeah.
I just want to make you aware, was great. And it also allowed a conversation to happen within just me and that family, you know what I mean? And you could get so much more inspired, and so much more, the message could be so much more when you actually talk to the people that you're doing it for.
Absolutely.
Which is the community.
Absolutely.
It's like you're saying. So that's crazy. I'm grateful.
It's a weird thing, but, like, I'm grateful that
I hate artists like that.
that you're doing
so
that.
Angry. I hate that shit.
I got so angry. It was funny. Like, I got so angry about it, and I still, like, it just reminded me having this conversation. I was like, oh snap, I need to actually, like, message this person because I want to message this person because there's, obviously, like, if I'm not gonna, like, name drop, but, like, obviously if you are on Settle and you're aware of, like, people and the things and the people that, like, really broadcast Hurricane Sandy. And every year, like, there's always been, like, an issue or something, or, like, I would find out about installations or events going on, like, either right after they were down or, like, the day of, and I would have to, like, run there and be like, oh my God, and to see. And if there's something about not having consent, or it's like, it's one thing to not have consent and to reach out and be like, hey, this exists. And then there's another thing to not having consent to putting, like, my father's, like, whole name and then not also reaching out. Like, there's just, like, it's like two things that are, like, a boundary, So with that being said, especially on the 10th year when I was really pushing to, like, figure out, like, who can help, how can it, and like, I was actually asking the community. The fact that there is no, like, feedback and stuff like that, I got really upset. And then I actually found out that a person was, like, doing one, and doing an installation, and I got told by literally someone sent me a reel of a video, and my father was the first name that got zoomed in on.
Wow.
So I was, like, already having a moment because it was the day of.
Oh my God.
And I already put together this event. So I was already, like, having a moment, like, because I worked at a farmer's market in the morning, and then I, like, rushed. I had to go do it. Like, I was, like, on it.
You bought money from
Yeah. It was a lot, So I like, I was already having a moment of, like, crying and, like, grieving. That I opened up my phone and I seen that, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, it got me upset because I'm like, I wanted to know about this. You've been
literally asking for weeks.
Yeah, like, I wanted to know about this. Like, and then the only reason I didn't, like, which I needed, I knew I needed to ground because I was very fucking upset. I was very hurt. I was very upset. And I said, all right, like, I'm not going to say anything about this today, not even tomorrow. I should give it a few days, because if I do this very emotionally charged, like, I don't want to ever use my platform to bash or put anyone down. But I will address things that are unjust, and I will address things that don't feel right. And of course, like, on the year that happened, the person put in the advent. So my aunt had messaged me. It was like, do you want to go pick this thing up, this item up? They put in the newspaper, any of the families can come retrieve them. So I'm like, that out of all, I'm like, so my anger calmed down because I was like, this is all I wanted. Yeah. Like, I'm so angry, but, like, this is what I wanted. This is what I'm angry about. And this is all that could have been done, like, all these years, and it could have avoided all that. So
that,
I had to retrieve it. I was still emotionally charged, so I didn't say anything in the moment. I was just grateful that I came to get it, and it was, like, a very quick exchange because I literally had, like, 1 minute. I, like, caught said person, like, in their vehicle, like about to leave, because I was like, oh shit, he's leaving at 11. So I was, I'm like, well, I'm in Midland, thank God. Like I have like 3 minutes to go get it.
Yeah.
And I got it because, she wanted it, which is like, that's fine. Like, this is what we've wanted. You know what I mean? So my point of saying all of that is like, that's something that I will address. And I'm not going to get into everything on this podcast. I'll address where I'm at with it now.
Yeah.
I was very mad. I was so mad. I was very mad for many years to find out that all of these things were happening and people were getting publicity and credit for things that weren't actually coming back to the community and helping those that are what it's about, right? And that was fucking painful. And like any artist that you're going to put names, do your fucking research and also reach out to the people and like actually ask yourself like what you're doing it for.
Yes.
To not be emotionally charged about it. I like I'm going to put myself in my feet and I want to say like that's something that I'm going to address, and I'll cross that bridge when it comes to it, and maybe I'll hear more about it in a good way, maybe I'll not hear about it in a not so good way, maybe it'll be neutral, but that's where I'm at with it. So most importantly, what I want to finish off on this note is that people like you are so important and so needed, because the amount of love, nurturing, execution, and everything that goes into what you're doing at the consideration. I'm a person like, that was very affected by something that is publicized in of all, any space that you can like have a search engine or, any space that was affected could read a name and know that, and like you handle it with so much care, and it wasn't even like, it was just so pure and like, and so integral. And I feel like that element, it's not that it's absent in people. I feel like it gets lost because of lack of priorities, and then also like it's not the people, it's what's in them. Like sometimes the stuff that's in them stops them from thinking of that stuff. So I just like get the fucking gunk out of you and start considering people respectfully, and that's all I'll say about that.
Thank you. I'm quiet because it's hard for me to digest everything you just said. All the nice things.
Like no,
but I gotta say, like, moving forward, I think when you do work out your stuff and you figure out like how you want to approach that, you should reach out to me, and we can now, after you have gone through what you need to figure out and get through, then we can come up with something 20 times better, by now involving the entire community that it has affected, and then it will validate your everything later on. So just hold on to that idea that, like you have the power to make something because you have someone that can help you. Yeah.
I appreciate it.
So just let me know.
And and to end the podcast in that way is like literally having the support system and being the support system.
Exactly.
So
what?
Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much for all that you do, not only for me but for the community in general. So is there
happy to be
anything
here.
else you'd like to say?
No, I mean, I would say just check out my latest project if you can.
Yes,
It's an alien project. Staten Alien. You get this shirt on the website. It's www.farfromhomesi.com. And it has to do with some mental health. It's about an alien that crashes onto Staten Island. And the movie will be up hopefully next week.
And make sure you check out your immersive website.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
So
It's
dope.
cool.
I was on it, like looking at the little.
I worked really hard on that.
Icons
So, yeah.
for Staten Island and the
Cool.
history. Like that was really, really dope. Like really dope.
That was
just
important.
once again, everything she does is super intentful and meaningful. And make sure like if you need anyone to do like photography and things like that, like everyone has a different aesthetic, and like check hers out. If
it's hard to say what I do.
You do so many things, but you have an esque to every photographer does.
Yeah.
And you have an esque to it, and if that's your tea, like then boom,
Good,
do that. And if not,
Yeah.
come hit me up because I got plenty of people for you. Okay, if like there is something for everyone, and and there's so many people, and it's just you do incredible things.
Thank
so
you. I appreciate you.
Make sure you
Appreciate
check
being
out Christine for
Thanks.
sure, and thank you so much for tuning in with us. And we love you, and you're
Yeah.
so worthy. And I hope that you find support in this and continue to support yourself.
You have value.
Yes, you do. And it's your job to figure out what that means to you. Yeah.
Yeah. And spread that love. That's what it's about. Just like I'm grateful I was able to do that for you. I'm really like, you have no idea. This is great. I feel so. That wasn't my intentions either. My intentions were really just to give you something.
But you deserve.
But thank you.
Deserve something. like you deserve it, like, because it's felt when
Thanks,
it's genuine
yeah.
like that. It's felt, and like you don't need the recognition, but I want to gift it to you because you deserve it.
I love you.
For real.
Thank
I love you
All
too.
right.
Like, we didn't go like
Love each
crying
other.
on the podcast. You know what I mean? Like, this is real. Okay, this
Got
is real
some
life.
real tea
I have
right here.
emotions, and I love you, and I get sad and happy sometimes, and so do you. So don't fucking lie about it.
That's
all
right.
That's
Don't
it.
fucking lie.
All right. See you guys next week. Bye.